A presidential committee to review the state of the national museums and national archives was set up by the President, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, on the 1st December 2006 to examine the state of national archives and national museums and make appropriate recommendations for the rehabilitation and equipping of both institutions. To review the core functions of the National Archives, of the National Museum, and recommend how best to fund their activities from both the government and the private sector. The committee was inaugurated by the Secretary to the Federal Government, Chief U.J. Ekaite, on the 15th of December 2006. The committee's assignment was carried out through a multifaceted approach, namely reading of relevant literature, presentation by experts and other chief executives, roundtable sessions and brainstorming, on-the-spot assessment of facilities, interviews of key persons and other stakeholders. Consultative meetings as well as interactive sessions were conducted.
My concern from the start is that the nation should raise the level of the importance it attaches to its cultural heritage. From what I saw when I visited the Nigerian Museum in Lagos, I was appalled by the state of the museum, and the lesson I drew from that is that the priority which should be attached to the conservation of our cultural heritage and the promotion of our cultural heritage is lacking.
To look at the Museum of Nigeria and see how we can make it a pride of place, an international museum, so that we will be able to argue, at least for a resting place for some of the antiquities and artifacts that we are asking people to bring the museums to bring back to us. And part of the argument is that we won't bring objects back to ramshackled museums, museums whose security systems are porous, museums whose capacity is low, museums whose facilities in terms of conservation is abysmal.
This review that's going on will afford Nigeria and naturally the Nigerian government, including state governments and local government, the opportunity to draw strength from our heritage. There has been a heritage and we nearly ignored them.
The museum is a heritage house, a dynamic reference point of material artifacts that constitute the essence of our diverse national, regional, and local identities and can therefore be used to reinforce the bonds that bind us together through heritage education.
And we must not abandon or borrow or anything alien. Yes, culture is dynamic, and one of the characteristics of a dynamic culture is the ability to imbibe and borrow from other cultures, but it must remain basically itself. Because if you try to copy an alien culture in toto, you will end up being a poor caricature of what you are trying to copy. You will be out of sorts everywhere, at home nowhere. A bat. What is happening in Nigeria today is because, as I have said, we have abandoned our culture.
Yes,
the institution of family today has broken down. Respect for elders, which used to be a cardinal principle in our society, is now at its lowest ebb. Honesty, where it does not pay, has become meaningless. Symptoms of revolt loom large in the horizon. In short, there is meaninglessness today in philosophy, insecurity in polity, chaos in politics, corruption in economy, immorality in society, frustration in art, lack of creativity in literature.
We talk about trees without branches or branches without a tree does not exist. We have roots. Without the roots, nothing can happen. A tree cannot stand, the leaves cannot grow. And so without our past, we cannot really define ourselves. We can't define ourselves. You can take the political time, for example, how many years back. Political activities in Nigeria do not define Nigeria. It's its roots. You can only define Nigeria by looking at it. And so, I did ask questions from time to time about why things have become so bad.
Established under Decree 77 of 1979, the National Commission for Museums and Monuments is the cultural equivalent of the Central Bank of Nigeria. It holds in trust the national cultural treasures and heirlooms representing the soul and identity of the nation. It is a part of the national estate and must be seen beyond the concept of a house of antiquities or a leisure facility. The National Commission for Museums and Monuments is the implementing agency, parastatal, of the various UNESCO conventions. In the case of museums, the following observations were recorded. Lack of technical and educational support equipment for sustained services. Inadequate security of facilities and equipment. Obsolete and inadequate facilities and equipment. Outdated legal and protective framework for heritage management and conservation. Lack of conservation and exhibition support services. Inadequate comparative remunerations for museums professionals. Looting and pillaging of archaeological sites, monuments, and other heritage places. The urgent need for Federal Museum of National Unity in Abuja as an interminable icon and facility, as is the practice all over the world.
We are in this country understandably concerned not only with our nation building, with our own development, sustainable development, and giving our young people a sense of pride in their nation. And the role of the museum in this is an important one.
From inception, we have education departments, and the role of the education department is to bring up these children to appreciate their culture. And before the inception of this new administration, we've always had exhibitions that draws on the ethnic group. But with the inception of the new administration, the emphasis is now on how can we use culture to show the similarities among the people of Nigeria, to show that there is unity in diversity. Nigeria, you know, consists of different ethnic groups, and in our exhibition, what we try to show the children is that even though we may be many, but we are the same. We are sort of from the same background. We are from the same father.
The younger generation do not lack knowledge in the sciences, in technology, in computers, and our children, we are going to match children from other parts of the world because of the global reach of technology and all that. But what can make the younger generation, the Nigerian younger generation, different and put Nigeria in a state that it would contribute to global knowledge would be that additional resource that they should have had in our history, in our heritage, in our museums, in our monuments, and that would make the new generation a truly modern global generation, but as Nigerians with a Nigerian content to whatever development they are going to pursue.
I believe with Nigerian culture you can forge unity in this country. You can instill discipline into this society. You can raise the moral tone of the society. You can fight corruption in the society with culture.
Matama Zule, with his real passion for heritage and what heritage was originally meant to achieve, to bring to show the bonds that bring us together as a nation. How he, Olushola and others from the south and north and east formed a voluntary organization called the National Council for Arts and Culture, which has transmuted today to a parastatal.
In all museums facilities visited in the course of the assessment data and scientific reports, pictures and video images were collected on various aspects of the state of the museums. At the end, an analysis of the weaknesses, opportunities and strengths of the museum system in Nigeria was conducted. At the Unity Museum Kano, most of the artifacts on the exhibition are fast deteriorating, while the Gidan Makama National Monument cries for urgent restoration.
Cement has been used. This one has been spilling off because there is no binding agent.
The Benin National Museum, housing some of the surviving masterpieces of the ill-fated 1897 British invasions, is on the verge of collapses. Igbo Uku Museum is community-driven and located at the site of the 9th century famous Igbo Uku bronzes, whose associated trade beads have been traced to northern Africa. The museum building at Igbo Uku is a rented premises and not suitable for museum. The community leader, the Idu, is a philanthropist who has mobilized his people in readiness for the new eco-museum concept.
The museum contribution to development of this nation is vividly captured in our new mission statement, which is to utilize the museum for heritage conservation in order to be able to develop products that would then be able to bring about jobs, skill acquisition, in order to be able to empower local communities through what I call museum beyond walls. In other words, museums are not going to be consisting of the European definition of museums, where objects are locked up in what I call cabinet of curiosities, where art is viewed for art's sake. But one would now be able to use art for development of the personality, of identity, yet make it available for jobs through what is regarded as now cultural industries, entertainment industry, through culinary arts, through landscape development, through integrated conservation, through urban planning. Because you see, tourism without planning in terms of integrating conservation practices into urban planning would not be practicable. Because without conservation, you consume what you have, and then the culture is bastardized, antiquities are stolen, sites are being looted. But if you could produce what I call eco-museums, that is where the youth of the community, like in the Niger Delta, in Koko, for instance, or Nok, you are able to bring them together to appreciate that this heritage is theirs. Train them as conservators, train them as curators, train them as tourism guides, train them as people who will be involved in craft development, train them in entertainment, in culturally compatible entertainment activities. As you move through any site in Europe, in Africa, in Zimbabwe, as you are passing through the site, the next thing you begin to see are people selling crafts. marketing in China. Eco-museums have put food on the table of the peasantry. So this is what we are recommending.
Museum in the capital can be the sort of orthodox museums along the European patterns of some building and some area where you can, of course, use your own local initiative and ideas to put in other things that do not, of course, occur in Europe and so on. But when you go down to villages, you do not have to build a big structure that this is the museum. The community and the environment is the museum.
All over the world, museums hold in trust and safeguard the irreplaceable treasures of the nation and the communities within our boundaries. The measure of a nation's civilized places on its written and unwritten, tangible and intangible heritage, from which it draws to ignite the minds of her citizens to take pride in their heritage, which are the landmarks of the past to the present and the roadmap for the future. Therefore, to destroy heritage is to destroy the very source from which reliable history could be written.
Some of those elders that we spoke with, almost all of them had pointed out the need for a heritage council, a council of elders all over Nigeria to look back on our inheritance, on our past, on what we nearly lost, but for the fact of this review that we're doing, and to see to what extent a heritage council can point the way forward for cultural development.
What I would suggest is that you have what might best be described as a national commission. A national commission that would consist of eminent Nigerians and suitably experienced Nigerians with demonstrable passion for conservation and promotion of Nigeria's cultural heritage.
The new management of the National Commission for Museums and Monuments has articulated its mission as follows: to utilize the museum to appreciate the similarity in our different cultures through active and comparative historical, archaeological, and ethnographic researches, so that through cultural education, national integration, pride and identity would internalize. To reposition the museum system to be actively engaged in heritage conservation and products development in partnership with states and local governments and the private sector. To win more UNESCO World Heritage Sites for Nigeria. To enhance the preservation of Nigeria's cultural heritage through the establishment of community and eco-museums as avenues for job creation, youth empowerment and poverty alleviation. In line with the new economic partnership for the development of Africa, NEPAD. Based on this, Nigeria can effectively carry out sustainable heritage tourism where it has comparative advantage over other African countries.